Welcome back to the show. Welcome to centralcoastradio.com. I'm your host, Kyle, and I want to talk about a very interesting film that I just watched called Saltburn. It's from the director and writer of 2021's Promising Young Woman. And, well, the film opens in 2006, and it's the first day at Oxford University for the shy and withdrawn young student named Oliver Quick. This was played by Barry Keoghan. And he finds himself an outcast and not really a part of any particular clique, and just spending most of his time alone while everybody else is socializing, having parties, getting drunk, what have you. Uh, this is really only until a chance meeting with a certain Felix Catton, played by Jacob Elordi, a young man that the this relationship begins a friendship which will change both of their lives forever. Felix is the complete opposite of Oliver. He's a wealthy aristocrat. He's tall, he's handsome, and he's ridiculously popular. But he's also kind and generous, and for Oliver, he's the only true friend he's ever known. But while Felix is Oliver's only friend, Oliver is just one of Felix's many. uh, Oliver's feelings quickly turn from friendship to love, and he becomes hopelessly devoted to Felix. At the end of the school year, Felix offers his friend Oliver a summer vacation at his family's lavish estate, dubbed Saltburn. That's where the title comes from. And at first, Oliver is even more out of place than he was at Oxford. Still, he's welcomed with open arms by Felix's eccentric and wealthy parents, Sir James Richard E. Grant and Elspeth, played by Rosamund Pike. And as weeks pass, the good times continue, and Oliver just really soaks up this new hedonistic and decadent lifestyle. Yet still, he can't help but feel like he's one wrong move away from losing his friend and really all of it. But his infatuation turns to obsession, and Oliver proves that he'll do anything to remain at Saltburn. Now, filmmaker Emerald Fennell, she made quite a splash in 2021, winning an Oscar for her debut film, Promising Young Woman. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, it's an unpredictable revenge thriller which really delighted audiences with its dark comedy. Now, for Saltburn, Fennel sets her sights on the class divide between the haves and the have-nots, and she does so with this provocative film designed to shock audiences, but also to keep them too enthralled to look away. And I think that really many of us have unfortunately felt isolated or like we don't belong at some point in our lives. And if we're lucky, we find someone or something which makes us feel whole. And from then on, there's really no imagining what we may do to hold on to that feeling. And that's something that I feel Saltburn as a film really delves into so incredibly. The world that Fennel has created feels alien at first, but soon we become just lost in the beauty of it all. She presents us this kind of nostalgic, somewhat rose tinted view of this privileged lifestyle and takes us along for the ride. The cinematography of the film, which is provided by Oscar winner Linus Sandgren, is a fascinating 4:3 aspect ratio. Seems I've seen a few of them in the last few years, but for this film, that look, that kind of square view with not widescreen, it's almost as if we're seeing the world through Oliver's closed view of it. Um, but at the same time, Linus creates incredible shot composition. Well, Linus and Emerald Fennell, both they create these just incredible shots and beautiful compositions while putting us directly in Oliver's shoes, so we can understand his passion for Felix and for Saltburn itself. Like he sees himself in other friends who have overstayed their welcome at Saltburn, and he fears that this is maybe what is in his future. But Fennel, she presents us in such a darkly comical way, and the film is consistently changing and reinventing itself. What begins as a light romp, it becomes decidedly more sinister as layers peel away. It's completely unrecognizable from the innocent story of this bromance that we began with by the end of the film. Uh, Billy Corgan, he's quickly made a name for himself over the last few years. Between the Banshees of Inisherin and Saltburn, he's proven to be one of my favorite young actors working today. Here he's able to transform from one scene to the next. Oliver goes from being this unassuming young teenager who's towered over by his peers uh, to having them believably wrapped around his finger. And he really is just a joy to watch in this movie, seeing him kind of change throughout the film. So much in the same way that we're never quite sure what direction the movie's going to go in, we're never quite sure how much we can trust or believe Oliver or exactly what his motivations are. As well as Keoghan, Elodie is great in the film as Felix. He plays him as this mysterious enigma. Like he's somebody that we do feel ourselves drawn towards um, by his magnetism and charm, and he comes off as likable and kind, but we can see that all of that can get taken away the moment that he grows tired of his new toy, that being Oliver. And that's something that makes the supporting characters of Saltburn so interesting, particularly Felix and his family, that they're rich and they're at times comedically out of touch. Like there's a lot of comedy that comes from um, just how very very British they are, I guess. But they're never malicious. They just belong to a completely different world, and it's a world that Oliver is on the outside of, trying to find a way to get in. Well, fans of Patricia Highsmith's The Talented Mr. Ripley, I'm afraid, admittedly, they may get a sense of deja vu from Saltburn. That's kind of an elephant in the room while watching it. If you're thinking, what does this remind me of? It might be The Talented Mr. Ripley. But as a whole, this is a much more satirical and even at times a much more creepier story. Which, if you if you remember the Talented Mr. Ripley, that was a pretty creepy movie at times and a creepy novel as well. Um, but Emerald Fennell has created here another deliciously entertaining experience. It's a film which keeps its audience guessing. It keeps us creeped out and keeps us laughing, and I guess most importantly, it keeps us just captivated up to its breathtaking finale. So I'm going to give this movie 4.5 out of 5. I really did enjoy it. It's one that I went into completely blind, and yeah, I was very surprised by just how much I enjoyed the movie. I guess I shouldn't have been because Emerald Fennell really, she's make like I said, she's already made quite a name for herself with her earlier film, and yeah, she's proven to be quite an interesting filmmaker to watch. So you're listening to CentralCoastRadio.com, and we'll be back right after this.